morning, everyone. Dan Holman with The Wealthy Retailer. Welcome to the podcast this week. Here we are recording first day of fall, second day of fall, September 24th. Man, oh man, on the right side of the grass. Rob, how you doing this morning?
Good. Yeah, it's that time of year where, you know, the furnace is on in the morning and the central air conditioning's on in the afternoon. Yeah. It's a fun fashion time of year, trying to figure out what the heck to wear.
For sure.
Canadians.
Welcome to Alberta.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, speaking of Alberta, Canada, our first story that we're going to talk about, we're stealing an American thing, a Shark Tank, but actually, now that I think about it, Shark Tank stole the Canadian thing, the Dragon's Den. And I guess if the line continues, we stole that thing from Britain. So the lesson here, folks, is a good idea is not always an original idea. And we'll talk more about that. Here's one that affects all of us, is perfect, the enemy of progress. And we got a story there. The community hall, HAUL, that kind of hall. Great little story about local vendors and producers coming together. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. And, this is right up your alley, Dan, getting through those obstacles of digitizing your retail shop and just getting through those first few waves and understanding what to do. Are your staff engaging enough? That's, I'm sure, a question we all ask each other lots. And Dan's got some great tips on employee customer engagement. And pandemic be damned. Damn you, pandemic. Business owners are still opening stores, and we've talked a couple times about this, but another one this week. So lots of great headlines, and thanks for joining us, folks. The first one, there's a story this week about Lowe's starting with Shark Tank star Daymond John. And, great opportunity for smaller product companies to get into the big players. But we talked about it a bit, Dan, and it was so cool to see actually a local retailer here in St. Albert, Sweet Boutique. They put out a note just at the end of last week that looking for local makers, those who are affected by lots of cancellation of holiday markets and that, but they're taking it. I'll spare you the doing my baby shark doot. But taking their baby Shark Tank moment and putting it right into their store, and I think that's awesome. And tell me your thoughts.
Yeah. Once again, kudos to Laura for thinking outside the box, taking risk, doing what she needs to do to bring great products to her customer base, trying to fill in gaps and taking full advantage of, the opportunity that, the pandemic creates. And this is not, again, all great ideas don't have to be new or your own. I mean, this has been happening for a long time. And it's funny that it takes somebody like, Marvin Ellison or Daymond Johns to bring this to light. This happens every day across independent retail. And there are, several great examples here in our little town, St. Albert, of where retailers bring in other, whether it's a manufacturer or a service provider or other retailers or other retail products to showcase or to pop up, remember that, it's a pop-up, it's a test inside their stores. Leanne from Simone and Ivy, here she's just turned, 1 year old or a little more than a year, 16 months now in St. Albert, and has done this several times with great result, whether it was bringing in, Bella Moss and selling I Am Enough t-shirts or, Kara Cotter or, whoever it is, giving that opportunity to showcase. And yes, Laura did this, call out to craft makers and product producers local to say, hey, come on in and let's do a pop-up in my store. But for every independent retailer out there that may be struggling with where do I get inventory? Number one, where do I get inventory? Number two, where do I get the cash to pay for the inventory? Let's partner with someone. Let's do a pop-up. Let's not just bring a pop-up into your location, maybe take a pop-up on the road, and see what you can do in another area.
Road goes
we
both
have
ways.
Products that are ours. And, no matter how grand that product is or not grand, how minute it really feels in your store, it is still yours and yours to promote. All of these retailers that are hell-bent on preaching the brands that they carry, let me let you in on a little secret here. The customer comes to buy from you. They trust you. Maybe they found you through your association with a great brand, but they bought from you, not that brand.
Yeah.
You have power here, and you have to own your own power.
I think it's your point of it's been happening a long time, and definitely has, but this, here we are reading the headline of this story, of this retail story taking that Shark Tank opportunity, and just a good reminder to everyone that there's just such great marketing out of these little pop-up partnerships within a story that you can yell from the rooftop, but also one that they're going to yell too, and really get the value out of that.
And there was more in that story that was really worthy of us, kind of taking off from. This guy is relatively, Marvin Ellison is his name. He's the CEO at Lowe's. He's relatively new in the role, and he has led the rise in profitability in that store. Their stocks have gone up significantly. I think they're up about 35%. And it was his foresight to say, hey, wait a minute, the home is going to become this place of work, this place of school, this place of entertainment. I've got to bring more products to my store. And what better way in a market challenge or in an inventory challenge, supply chain challenged world than to reach out to every single entrepreneur out there and say, hey, you want shelf space in my stores? Let's go. Sign up. He's done a great job.
Plus, there's probably not a stitch of wood left in the entire market right now.
Yeah. Good luck getting a hunk of lumber to build a deck.
Build a deck this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When an idea is holding you back, possibly our next story talks about, perfect being the enemy of progress. And, we find ourselves, typically we get stuck, we want it perfect out of the gate. And in many cases, I don't know. What's your thoughts, Dan? Like when you see this with your retailer partners and clients, are many of them getting stuck in this world, or do you find many are getting pretty good at, we're just going to blast through it and we're going to fix as we go along?
There's two kinds of retailers out there. There's two kinds of retail entrepreneurs out there. There's those that, have a great sense, a great sense of confidence, and perfection will never stop progress. And then we have the other retailer that is so pent up with fear, with a little bit of insecurity, that is more focused on, oh my gosh, what will people think of me? Oh, I can't put that out. I can't do that until it's perfect. And we see this in retail today, especially when we have, sort of a visionary and an integrator role in the companies, the visionary, that really creative, risk-taking, high on emotion leader, as compared to the integrator, who's very logical, very harmonious, very balanced, connecting all the pieces. And one, is very, very risk adverse, while the other one thrives on it. And the integrator will always look for perfection, and the visionary will, in entrepreneurialism, as entrepreneurs, we strive for perfection. Mistakenly, erroneously, we strive for perfection. Right? There's no better example than NASCAR. Here I go, back to my redneck roots. No better example of being first versus being best. It's rarely the best car that wins the race. It's the first one across the finish line.
Well, Ricky Bobby used to say, if you ain't first, you're last. So,
good old Ricky. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think shake and bake this thing? So it does, Rob. If you are focused on if you're focused on how people will view you or your product ahead of getting product out to market, perfection gets in the way of progress. Yeah. I promise you, look at every big retail success story out there. You're measuring yourself today, at the bottom of the mountain while they stand at the top. You're measuring your performance a year in against their 10 years in. And you're saying, I can't, if I'm going to compete with ... I've got to be this good. No, they're on their 10th, 12th, 15th iteration. We talked about this yesterday with Twig and Berries. Let's get to 1.0, not 3.0 today.
Right.
Let's understand that progress is way more important than perfection. Get to market, turn dollars, and then improve.
Yeah.
There's plenty of audience out there, retailers. There's plenty of audience out there.
No, and that was a great point where the conversation got stuck for a moment with everyone thinking about the 3.0 version in their mind and kind of bringing it back to, we can quickly get to 1.0.
Right.
It gets the engine revving and we're getting out there, and whatever that is, a sale you want to do, a new product, all kinds of things. And do you think it's, if you find yourself asking that question, is it perfect now? Is it time to go? It's almost like it's time to go. Like you're really close to that point.
The best time the best time to build a tree 20 years ago. Second best time, right now.
Yeah.
Best time to build a product, right now. Best time to launch something, right now. If you wait, you miss opportunity. You miss early adopters. And see, here's the thing. Let's go back and talk about, I think we talked about a few weeks ago, Simon Sinek, and talking about the big screen TV and how much people paid for that big screen, flat screen television when they first came out. They were pieces of shit, but they were $7,000 and they sold off the shelves to who? To the early adopters. They weren't looking for perfection. They were looking for progress.
At $7,000 a pop.
Yeah. But so what? That was that market. Your T-shirt might be worth $20, but it's the early adopters that are going to buy them, and they're the ones that are going to feed your soul to build the next one and the next one and the next one. And every iteration gets a little bit better. I can tell you stories of businesses that have failed massively because they didn't get to market. I can tell you about personal investments that I've made in companies, pre-market companies that failed because they allowed perfection to get in front of progress.
Right.
I'm going to say that quietly so Marlene doesn't hear me, because she'll kick my ass again for that mistake.
Just tell you lost all in Vegas. That's I think
sorry,
that,
yeah.
Well, we do have a story coming up right away about getting over that first big hurdle. But before we do, folks, remember this podcast is brought to you by Canadian Retail Solutions. From the latest point of sale software to merchandise intelligence, open to buy plans, and more, let them help you find your cutting edge retail solution today. Visit retailbycrs.com. Remember, they're here to help folks. And speaking of that, like here's a prime story. This comes out of payments.com, where talking about, in this particular case, it was a coffee shop, but around the topic of that, those digital options that they have to consider as, the ground's moving beneath their feet. This one talked a little bit about Uber, skip the dishes, but also payments and that. Dan, take it away.
Well, so here's the challenge. Coffee shops really, probably were, if I could measure the impact on a, per revenue basis, coffee shops, were probably the worst hit, probably hit harder than any other business, never digitized, can't afford to live. You can't sell a $3 coffee and then, give up, 25 or 30 points using Uber Eats or DoorDash or one of these other companies. But this really was, the ability for, the coffee shops that are challenged. And this isn't about the coffee shop. This is just an example of a company. This whole article was written about Odeco, who created in the US a coffee shop app. I'm going to tell you, for $80 a month, you can have your own app. You can have your own e-com app. As you and I both know and have spoken about many, many, many times, last mile of delivery, the most expensive. People like to bitch and complain about Uber and Uber Eats and DoorDash because they take 20 points off the bottom line or off the top line.
Yep.
It's the last mile of delivery, man. It's most expensive. And digitizing your business has to come at some expense. And for the retailer that's out there saying, I can't afford to do it, I'm going to combat it with you can't afford not to do it. And I'm also going to say that those are always fear-based objections. They are not real. You know, I don't have the cash. Okay, that's fear-based. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know where to get the cash. Pick up the phone and talk to somebody about, hey, how do I digitize my business? How do I afford to build an app? Should I have an app? You know, should every retailer out there have an app? You know, and look at our partners at Shopify.
Yeah, like
yes, absolutely they should. Yeah. Absolutely they should. If you have an audience, whether it's 100 or 100,000, you need a way to curate that, to speak directly to them. And, you know, there are lots of platforms out there that do it. I mean, you know, like I said about our partners at Shopify, you know, with Shopme. Shopme is an app driven by Shopify that's subscription based, that takes your website, your e-com platform, your shopping cart, and turns it into an app that now can speak directly to your customer. She decides to turn notifications on or off. You get to decide what she sees and hears and feels from you on that app. And it's not expensive. If you want to build an app outside of the subscription-based model, you can go out and build an app for as little as $1,200. You want an e-com app? You want an app that takes money, that processes payments? All right, so you're going to pay about $3,000. But people just don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what question to ask. Most of us
in today's market, why are you seeing some people take that step of, I'll just call it reinventing the wheel, when there's so many options out there right now?
Because they're entrepreneurs and they had no interest in buying themselves a job. The people that open stores, you know.
Sorry, Dan. I meant on like the app itself. When you said to spend like $3,000 to develop your own payment app.
And so why do I want to do it as a consumer? Why do I want to download that app on my phone?
No, sorry. As you said, as the retailer, like if the retailer went out and got their own app developed from scratch, are many doing that right now? Or like I say, there's just so many great options out there.
Yes, there are some that are absolutely doing it. And they're fully connected to their shopping carts or their digital stores. And the ones that don't have that, you know, 3,000 or depending on, you know, layers of, I mean, there's lots of complexity that can be built into an app. We can go up to 12 or 18,000 bucks if we wanted to, you know, but we don't need to today. We've mobilized everything in today's world. And there are companies out there that are making what used to be, you know, for the Canadian Tires of the world, the Mark's Work Warehouse, the Home Depot, the Lowe's of the world, are making it available for the sweet boutiques of the world. You know, and I said, you know, Shopify's got a great little mobile app, Shopme, and it is a personalized app that she downloads that speaks directly to her. And so it cost me $80 a month. Okay, big deal. Yep. Move on.
And that's a white labeled version. Like what can a retailer expect out of that app?
Yeah, they're going to have an absolutely white label. I mean, we're saying white label. It's a branded app.
Right.
It takes from your, in this case, you know, we're talking about, you know, Shopify. It takes your Shopify store and creates an app out of it that allows you to deliver notifications and opportunities. Look at what's going on in the app world right now. Look at what Get in the Loop is. I mean, we talked about Get in the Loop several weeks ago. These guys are just on this, you know, upward jet stream right now. Every single community is getting on that app. Every community. I mean, chambers of commerce, Chamber of Commerce, I don't know.
Chambers is I think.
Chambers is across the country are buying Get in the Loop franchises to promote their local businesses. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And that's an app. That's a personalized app that at some point, it's going to get better. It's going to get worse. And I'm going to delete it off my phone or I'm going to reinstall it. I mean, I'm going to make the decision. It's going to make it relevant to me and it's never leaving my phone. Tell me this, you know, do you have an app on your phone that you use frequently that's not a search engine app, that's not a social media app? Do you have a go-to app that you use?
I would call most of those apps that fall in that category for me are that roller coaster hot and cold. Like, okay, got the golf app, tells me I'm exactly 183 yards, and I golfed last week a couple times,
Yeah.
and then I don't off the radar, but I get it back in my memory again, and
Right.
so that speaking for me, that's most of my app usage. How about you?
But isn't that the case?
Yeah.
Every single app is a roller coaster, right? And I'm OCD, so I have mine very well organized. They're all in folders, from travel to games to, sports or finance or fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
I meant fantasy sports. I meant sports fantasy.
I jumped in there. Great. Tell me about this money you lost in Vegas again.
Been doing a little betting on Barstool. Sorry. Yeah. Say that quietly. But I do have apps that are in that roller coaster world.
Yeah.
And how many apps on your phone do you have to give you directions, how to get somewhere, right? Waze, Google Maps. I mean, it's never ending, the apps that are available. And so when you find one that's your favorite finance app, your favorite news app, your favorite banking app, your favorite foreign currency app, your favorite where do I shop app, your favorite what's near me app, we stick with them.
Right on. Okay. Our new favorite app may be a subscriber type app. And this next story comes from huddle.today. And it talks about the great folks out in Nova Scotia. They've come together to find the most unique vendors and producers that they can. They've created this new box, the Community Hall, again, HAUL. Great point in here. Talks about, what could they do to introduce all these people who want to spend locally and support these producers. They've designed this, and back to the ease of the digital side. They're very wary of this. Had to be 1 or 2 clicks away from a purchase. What are your thoughts on this story, Dan?
Hey man, here we go again. We're repeating ourselves like good parents. The best ideas don't always have to be your own. Subscription box shopping is a long-standing practice, and in independent retail, there are some really fabulous success stories. Maureen Dorn from Skirt in Philadelphia is probably my very favorite example of subscription box performance. Okay. And I think that we're seeing retailers do it all over the place. This story, this group in Halifax that, are just living the entrepreneurial's dream, man. They're curating products, throwing in the box and saying, hey, you give me $50 a month in recurring revenue, MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and I'll send you products. And in this case, it's locally made products. Yeah. And there's some pretty cool examples in Canada. Look at what Jillian Harris is doing with her box, the Jilly box. It's a subscription-based box. Yeah. The FabFit Fun box. I mean, these stories are out there throughout our world, and all of our retailers got to be thinking about, how do I build a subscription model for my store? How can I send her something every month and make it easy for her to say yes, and just as easy for her to say no? Yeah. And I watched one of the retail revelations that we threw out, I think it was this week, was return policy. Yeah. Yeah, was return policy. And that model, that subscription model, has to have a really strong, easy to understand, easy to operate return policy. And here's the box. And inside the box are all the things that I've curated for you. Yep. Not for 25,000 people, but for you, along with the return label for anything you don't want to keep. And I make it easy. And there are lots of great examples. I mean, Harry's was probably one of the very best. If you're not familiar with Harry's razors, I mean, Harry's products, probably one of the very first really intelligent shaving subscriptions. We'll send you a razor every single month, or 3 blades a month, or depending on how much you shave. They made this a very personal thing and then hammered you on monthly subscriptions. And guess what? You're 10 months down the road and you really have no idea what that $18 charge on your credit card is anymore, but you love to get that box in the mail. Yeah.
So this one was a community approach where not one specific retailer owned it. Is this a moneymaker for most, Dan? Is it more of a marketing opportunity when it's kind of a group? Obviously, this has, with different producers, it has the opportunity to find new consumers that maybe weren't looking for you in the first place, but you got to hop on the the subscription box express, we'll call it. What are your thoughts with that?
So it's both. It is always, two-pronged. I'm going to drive some revenue with it, but I'm also going to drive some awareness. I want to be part of a box because I want people to pick up my product. We created a subscription box. The Twig and Berries, the team at Twig and Berries created a subscription box.
Yeah.
Not so much subscription, but a box curated of some favorite things. Whether you were a golfer or a lounge around dad or a sports dad, they grabbed some products, they curated it, specifically for a personality. And so, it's absolutely about marketing. And I want to go and put myself in other boxes. And as a retailer, I want to take advantage of every opportunity to put my label on something, in a box, in a bag. Everybody complains and bitches and moans about the phone calls from charity, and it drives me nuts. Absolutely, I have something to give you. Definitely, I have something to give you. Whatever it is, make it your own and say, hey, this is what we give to charity. This is what we give to that. You're doing a pub night. You want to sell some basket. You want to sell some wares. Here's what we put in all our pub night baskets. Here's what we put in all of our, kids association sports things, or, my school, my parent group is doing. Here's what I put in them. It's the same exact thing.
Well, it's like a couple of weeks ago, we had that story in the newsletter about the mystery boxes, and with close to my heart, Road 55, the sweet spot was the $55 box. Yeah. But I laugh. I'm in the world of marketing, and sometimes you say you want to stand out today, write someone a letter, right? How often are they getting things in the mail? And this the romance of this is just awesome. So if I'm a retailer today, Dan, and I don't have one, what's your thoughts on, do I start on my own, or would you say maybe get go for that 4 or 5 local retailers where you could come together and you're all kind of benefiting, and again, a bit on that marketing side. What's your thoughts there?
Every entrepreneur, every retailer, indie retailer is wearing 25 hats. Yeah. And, we're all scattered. We're all running around like,
what was that? What'd
chickens.
You say? Squirrel.
We're all in that same place.
Yeah.
And, it takes a significant amount of dedication to pull together 4 or 5 scatterbrains, 4 or 5 people running around with their hair on fire to put this together. So, if you've got someone that has that ability, that has that, herd the sheep kind of personality, great. Collab, do it together, get a bunch of people. But just start with a style. If you're in fashion, if you're in apparel, start with a style box. Figure out how to create your own style box. Talk to your top 10 customers and say, hey, I want to try something with you. I want to send you a curated box, once a month. It's going to come with a return label and a return package. And you see, all of a sudden, we get scared because we say that dirty word return, and we just don't understand that every return is an opportunity to sell, a better opportunity to sell than, a fresh face in my door. Yeah. But just put a return label in it and just be wide open and say, here you go. I've built this for you. Keep what you like, send back what you don't. It's prepaid. Let's see what happens.
Right on.
Take risk.
Okay, I'm going to jump on that discussion of opportunity to our next topic, and that comes from your selling system video, Dan. You've got a part on there that talks about being engaging, and yet you got some great tips on there that retailers can work with their staff. Share those with us.
Well, I think this, engaging for me is really sort of in that step 1, step 2 in the selling process, or in the selling phase. Our selling system really starts with greeting and engaging your audience, greeting and engaging your client. We move through understanding her needs to presenting total solutions to her needs, handling objections, and closing sales. And each one of these is actually a step. It's a bridge that we cross that gets us to yes. And in this instance, we talked about engaging and the power of using social chit chat as a conversation starter Let's forget about the bullshit. How's the weather? Oh, it's cold out. Oh, it's chilly out. There's tons of other things that we can talk about that's just social chit chat that allows us to start a conversation, to springboard. We've got to start this conversation so that we know where she is in the buying phase. We are in the buying phases or buying system. We have a selling system. We systematically move through a process that defines our outcome, i.e. a sale. Well, she has that exact same kind of process. And we need to know whether she's dreaming about product, solution, outfit, where she is. Is she dreaming about something? She's seen it in a magazine. She's seen it on a website. She's in that dreaming phase. She's curating information. Or is she in the exploring? Where do I buy the items or the products that fulfill this dream that I've created? Or is she in the selecting phase, hand selecting those products? And in each one of these phases, she needs you. And you need to be able to engage her to understand where that is. And for me, there's nothing more engaging than saying to someone, hey, my name is Dan, and you are?
Nice.
None of your
Rob.
business. Yeah, right. Hey, Rob, man, oh man, thank you so much for coming in today. Yeah. It's great to see you again. Is it your first time in? I'm going to start asking open-ended questions. How many times have you ever said to somebody, hey, really nice to meet you. My name is Dan, and you are?
Yep. I love that.
What's the answer that you get back?
Yep.
Has anybody ever said, none of your business? Has anybody ever said, Ricky Bobby? No, man, people are just genuine. They're shocked that you want to know their name, number one, which is very engaging. And now I use their name in conversation. This is not strategy. This is not tactic. This is relationship building.
Yep.
That's what engaging your audience is all about. Knowing your customer by name, giving her your name before you ask for her name. People come in the restaurant business, they've got this down. In good restaurants, the waiter or the waitress always introduces themselves.
Yeah, the joints with paper on the table, they know how to write their name upside down. Like it's pretty awesome. But I think it's we're dealing with a lifetime of habit of the can I help you? And building new habits, working with your team to say, okay, I want you, your goal today is to introduce yourself a dozen times and just building that habit and to crush the other one that's been well ingrained, unfortunately.
We've preached this for a long time. I've been watching this show on Netflix that's got me all about preaching here. But we've talked this way for a long time, that help is a 4-letter word. Nobody ever responds effectively to, have you been helped? Can I help you? Do you need some help? No, nobody ever responds really well to that. Rarely do people respond. Men sometimes are a little bit more open to, exposing themselves as being helpless. Women are not, absolutely not. Your female shoppers do not want to be identified as helpless. Don't use those kinds of words, but start from a place that engages them in a conversation versus, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Do you want something that I have that's on sale? Yeah. I walked into a store. Okay, quick story. I go into a store and, clearly this young man had been coached on what to say, because I walked in and he said, hey, welcome to ... Yeah. Today, everything in this section, in this aisle, is buy one, get one free. Was what in that aisle, was that important to me? No, he was coached on putting business first, not people first.
Interesting.
You see, and the greatest mistake that we make is we reinforce our consumers' belief that we're salespeople, not people. Our job is to get them to see us as people, not salespeople, which is why you never talk about business first. It's always people first. And here's the thing. You walk into a furniture store to buy a new mattress and someone tells you the dining rooms are on sale.
Yeah.
Now
No
you've just
doubt.
created another hurdle for me to get over.
Yeah.
You've created a hurdle for yourself to get over. You told me something that was irrelevant to me, that steered me in a different direction than what my intention was.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Hey, you're
Engage
really
your
in the
audience.
doghouse if you're sleeping on the dining room table.
Yeah, it's a tough life, brother. But this is, this selling system, people hate the word system, but systems
Yeah.
define outcomes. And understanding how to seamlessly, consequentially move through a process in your store gets the customer to what they want.
Yeah.
This is not about you. This is about a customer. And this idea of delivering an equal and specified level of service to your customer really starts with greeting and engaging your audience. Engaging, making eye contact, having conversation, being real and relevant. Relevant. Don't talk to me about dining room tables if I want a bed.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about socks today or right now if I'm there to get a jacket. If I said jacket, don't start talking about socks.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what the jacket, how it's going to be used, when it's going to be used, what are you going to wear it with, who are you going to wear it with, ask the questions.
Great points. Great points. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. Speaking of relevant, our next story comes from Inc.com. This is definitely relevant. We're right in the midst of it still, and that's that, damn you pandemic. But we talked about it before, and here's another one, that a big story about. I liked how they said, we just kind of embraced what happened the first month or so. We're all trying to figure out what was going on. But once we felt like we had that understanding of what was happening, we asked the question, so what's next? And it quickly became a conversation not only of looking ahead, but we're going to be in control of looking ahead. And this is about expanding their footprint, expanding their opportunities. What do you think there, Dan?
Yeah. And so here's these guys. I mean, Buck Mason is a men's store. These two cats that founded this store, Eric Allen Ford and Sasha Cohen, they created this men's store, and they've just launched another one. They're 3 or 4 years old, or 7 years old, I guess now. I think they founded in 2013. But here's these two cats now that are taking advantage in a risk-ridden world to grow and to put themselves in places that there was a gap or an opportunity. We talked about this several weeks ago. Is now the time to expand in this downturn? I mean, we said this, the often told story of expansion of success comes in downturns. You're taking advantage. And now is the time to look at, how do we grow? You see, too many of us are left reeling on what we've lost. You'll never get back what's lost. What's gone is gone, right? And in our world, if we focus all our energy on what we lost, what we no longer have, we can't move forward.
Yeah.
This is about looking forward. How do we grow today? How do we move ourselves? How do we inch ourselves forward? And you're going to be faced with this number one objection. The greatest objection of all time is money. I can't afford to grow. I don't have the capital to grow. I don't have this. I don't have this. It's always money driven, fear driven. The best entrepreneurs are the ones that find money anywhere, that just believe money grows on trees, right? We'll figure it out.
Someone will give it to me.
Somebody's got money. Somebody's prepared to give me money. Somebody's prepared to ride my coattails to the top or the bottom.
Yeah.
But I got to be prepared to ride the roller coaster. And listen, put yourself in a roller coaster, chucking up the tracks, getting to the top, the exhilaration that you feel as you climb to the top of the roller coaster, to let what happens next. You look forward to what happens next, right? It's this speedy, fast down that takes you back up. You got to go down to go up. You got to feel that pain. And people are in pain right now, and I need to grow to come out of this, right? The roller coaster never stops at the bottom. I don't know if anybody really realizes that. The roller coaster can't stop at the bottom, right? They got to find their middle ground. They got to find their level ground in order for it to stop.
But the thought
Retail
process,
is the exact
the
same
fear
way.
process stops at that moment. Like that's where it just gets
done.
Frozen there.
Right. You hit the bottom, and now all of a sudden you're starting back up, and fear is now gone. And now that anxiousness starts to set back in as you click up, click, 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 click. Yeah. This is when growth needs to happen. And God damn it, people are so bloody scared of growth that they hide themselves in the sand. They bury their heads. And sometimes, in order to grow, you got to clip your leaves. You got to cull the herd a little bit. You got to correct your ship. And sometimes that means thinning out. Maybe you got to close one store to open 2 more. But you've got to be prepared to do that. Yeah. It is an up and down world. And now is the time to look at growth, not what I lost, but rather what can I now gain from here, not from last year, not from 3 years ago, from today. How do I be a little bit better?
Right on. Folks, a lot of great stories today, and we're going to have the links in the newsletter for it. Be sure to head to retailbycrs.com if you haven't yet to sign up for it. In addition to these story links, we've got some additional stories that we didn't get a chance to quite hit on today, but a couple we talked about earlier. The weather's turning. I know there's a big fight on for patio heaters out there, but what can retailers do to keep their footprint expanded? Halloween is not lost this year, folks. It's going to happen. And the story talks about, I think it was like 80% of parents, like they're prepping for this. They're not going to let it be ruined.
60% of the time, it works every time.
There we go. Dan will like this one. This is about, the digitization of your systems, moving to the cloud. And the story really zeroes in on the efficiencies that it creates and more importantly, the expense reduction that it provides the retailer. So great little story there. And our good friends at Google have added shopping adds the nearby filter. So, when you talk about that local support, the community halls, when you're looking for that boutique, maybe add a little boutiques near me. Actually, it will change your search results. So
it does.
But they're trying to make it a bit more dynamic and know where you are searching from to let you do a better job of shopping local. So lots of great stuff there.
Yeah, guys. Hey, listen, thanks so much, Rob. I feel like a bit of a windbag today. We kind of, took off on some good stories. There's a lot of good stuff there. Guys, please go over to thewealthyretailer.com or retailbycrs.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get certainly this podcast in there, and all of the links up to stories that we talked about, and you can form your own opinion and action from some of these stories. Again, the best ideas in our world don't have to be yours. You've just got to own them. You've got to take what's working for someone else and make it your own. I mean, our world is built on, I hate to say built on plagiarism, but it really is. It's about iteration after iteration. Head over to thewealthyretailer.com, retailbycrs.com, subscribe to that newsletter, get on your favorite podcast platform, subscribe to thewealthyretailer.com, and check us out every week.
Before we go, Dan, I had just a brilliant thought that just came to me. I want to share it with people that, folks, the world is not built on plagiarism. I want you to know that. Okay, great job this week, Dan. Lots of great stuff. And have a great week, everyone.
Yeah, happy retailing.